Well, I'm joined now by Wouter Vanneuville, who is the climate change adaptation expert at the European Environment Agency. Good afternoon to you. I hope I've said that name correctly. So things are pretty bad, aren't they? Maybe the worst they've been in ages.
It's certainly a serious drought we are facing now in many places of Europe. And it goes as far as some areas where even drinking water, there's not sufficient supply for drinking water. So people need to be provided by trucks and so on. So, of course, there are many areas where there are advices to lower the water use, but there are also a lot of places where those things are already mandatory, where farmers already for weeks are not allowed to pump groundwater, are not allowed to pump water from minor rivers and so on. So, yeah, it's seriously.
Let me clarify that point. You're saying about, so drinking water has run out, has it, from taps? And where? Right around Europe?
Yeah, there are some places in Europe where there's not sufficient water supply for drinking water, which is normally, let's say, the highest priority of the whole chain of who can use the scarce water we have. It's not on a large area because it has the highest priority, but even that is happening. So if you want to compare this, for many places of Western Europe, we are now in a situation that can become as severe as it was in 1976, or at some places even more.
Yes, we've seen the effects, haven't we, in recent days and weeks. And what is causing all this? Simply a lack of rainfall.
I think we have a few things together. A drought is something that doesn't happen overnight. A drought doesn't happen just become this summer, but it's already raining less than the long-term average in many parts of Europe for months. So the first half of this year, we had significantly less rainfall over a large area. And in addition, we had some heat waves, so there was a lot of additional evaporation. We all remember the heat waves of a few weeks ago in July, but there were also already very early heat waves this year in the end of May and the beginning of June in several parts of Europe. So it's a combination of those two things coming together.
Yeah, and France is going through its fourth heat wave of the year, isn't it? Is that unprecedented? Well, saying that, we in the UK are having our second in 3 weeks.
Yeah, heat waves and what they mean is a little bit defined different from country to country. So it's very difficult to compare one heat wave with another. When you talk to meteorologists, they often say, yeah, compared to heat waves, what makes sense is to count the number of tropical days, the number of tropical nights, and so on. And there you see that 2022 is a summer with a lot of tropical days. Is yeah, let's say, much warmer than it was over the long-term average. For example, in some other countries like the Netherlands and Belgium, they only have the first heat wave coming up now, depending to the definitions, but that doesn't in any way give a clear picture of how June and July were. That were really warm months. So rather than just counting heat waves, which is a little bit an artificial thing, if you really look at the number of days above 25 degrees, days above 30 degrees, days above 35 degrees, and so on, you will see records or close to records for many countries.
And is this the shape of things to come in the future?
Well, this is not the message that this will happen every year from now on. But if you look over a longer period, there's certainly a chance that this will happen more often. That these kind of droughts that were in the past on average happening once every decade or once every 2 decades now will become more frequent and several times per decade. So I think indeed this is more of what is going to happen in the near, but also in the midterm future.
And are there small steps that individuals can take to try to alleviate the situation?
Mm-hmm. There are many things that people can do and that all kinds of businesses can do. As a drought, contrary to the heat wave, is something that is building up over the months. Most of the activity you can do is happening way before, which means that when we have a lot of rain and when we have too much rain, it needs to infiltrate much better in our soils, in our groundwater reservoirs, to be available in the periods that we have less rain. So that is certainly one of the key messages. We need to make sure that the water, when it is available, is also going through our groundwater reservoirs, is leaking through our soils rather than just going to our rivers as fast as possible to the sea. And then secondly, yeah, indeed, farmers in Europe overall use a lot of water, and they are cut off, which of course means that they will have less produce in many cases, but also households can do a lot. Every single household on its own won't make such a difference. But if you multiply that by the number of people and the number of households doing things, this can be significant. Just changing your shower heads, for example, with those that are water saving devices, that saves already 50% of the water you use for a shower. There are a lot of things and a lot of things happening. People have now 2 buttons on their toilets and so on, so they use much less water than in the past. And of course, things that are seen as luxury things like washing your car every week now, or making sure that that the grass is as green as it can be. That are, of course, things that are, yeah, for
Yeah.
reasonable people out of scope now.
All right. Thank you for that advice, and thank you for coming on to the programme today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.